this is a workshop. It's a bit of a big workshop, but I would love to have questions. So as we're going through stuff, I don't want this to be just me talking to you guys. I would love to, if you guys have questions, because we're going through a lot of stuff today, right? So if you have a question halfway through, just stick your hand up in the air. We'd love to take questions in between. So you don't have to leave the questions for last, just in case you forget stuff. But if you have a question, you want to write it down and ask it at the end, that's fine too. So a bit of an introduction to myself, if the clicker works. Oh dear. Chewbacca, help. Apparently got Chewbacca. Yeah, anyways, this is where technical error happens and you tell a bad joke, right? The speakers will tell bad jokes. Say the sushi A, say the sushi B, or sub B. You get it, don't get it, but oh dear, no one gets it. It's horrible. I know, right? Alright, cool. So, who's StoreHub? So, StoreHub is a company I founded in 2013. It's point of sale, cloud-based, back office. You would see in cafes around. Anyone heard of Sankaya? They're a customer, they have all these iPads for their point of sale. We've got about 15 people. And when we started, it's late 2013, so 2014, 2015, the kind of growth we got, it's pretty good. So it's a B2B SaaS business, so it's effectively business to business. Most of our customers are other businesses, small retailers or cafe owners or laundromats and whatnot. And it's SaaS, meaning that it's a monthly subscription type of business where you pay on a monthly basis or you pay on a yearly basis, like a subscription model. Just a quick survey. I just want to know how many of you guys are running businesses right now? So good portion. And the rest of you guys, raise your hand as well. You're not running a business, who's not running one? Oh. Isn't it the aspiring entrepreneurs like you? So you guys are. Good. So you're existing entrepreneurs. So I think the things that we're going to be talking about today are just lessons and tools that I found useful for myself. My background is actually like, we're saying that I was actually in Australia for about 10 years. And I studied there. I failed 5 subjects at university, playing too much Ragnarok online, if you guys know what that is. And eventually I started OzHub, which is a niche e-commerce business. And OzHub grew from 0 to about $5 billion in revenue in about 5 years. And we didn't raise any money. So this was back in the days when startups was not the thing, and it was just kind of like put stuff up on eBay and pray really hard that they sell. Not quite, but then that was how it was. So my experience is very much in B2C. So starting online e-commerce, and that's where a lot of the lessons I've learned then translated very well into B2B. So hopefully I'll share something that you guys will find useful today. Okay? You good to go? Awesome. Alright, so what we're going to cover today. So there's 4 major things that we're going to be covering today. Hacking your growth. So what are some of the tools that you can use to actually grow a little bit of your business? Don't have to write any of these down, we'll go through them. Hacking your operations. So as your business grows, what tools are there, and what lessons have I learned that enable you to actually manage and all that scale and scale properly, all that stuff that's happening in your business, and hacking your HR. So a business grows, you need to make sure you've got good ways to actually recruit people. That's really important, and also managing them, right? So that's stuff there. But hacking yourself, right? So that's pretty important too. Bit of a hacker. If I could embed tips in myself, I probably would. But yeah, so let's keep going. Clicker is not going to be very good. Maybe I have someone there. Jasmine, do you mind sitting at the computer just so that I can, if it doesn't work, I'll just, click with my fingers or something. Thank God you're here. Everyone else doesn't understand me. Okay. Cool. Here we go. So tool number 1 is a tool called Moz. So has anyone heard of Moz? No, good, because Moz is basically, if you guys know what SEO is, it's that thing that some people call you out and say, hey, we can charge you 2 or 3 or 4,000 ringgit a month and we'll do this thing called SEO for you. Right? So when I first started my first business, that's what happened to me. I got this guy who calls me up and said, hey, if you pay $4,000 a month, I'll do this thing called SEO and you rank higher in Google. And I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do? And he says, well, it's a secret, I can't tell you. I'm like, okay, that's bullshit, right? And am I allowed to say that? Yeah, fine. So it's horrible. I just thought it was nonsense, and so we did it ourselves. By just we went online, we found a really good mob called Moz. They've been around for years, since 2006, and they're based in the US. And what they do is they actually have a series of articles and tools that you can subscribe to that help you monitor your rankings, that give you ideas on how to actually boost your rankings, and this is all stuff that you can do yourself. And I think especially for young entrepreneurs starting out, this is something that is actually really simple and stuff that you can do. So definitely hop onto Moz. The main thing that you get out of it is actually the rankings and actually be able to then monitor where the links your competitors are getting, right? So where they're getting their links from. And then perhaps you can also replicate some of those links. So that's actually really important. A main part about SEO is something you want to take note of, is that when you're starting out, all your competitors have what they call a link profile already, right? So basically if this is your website and the star is linking to you, some famous blogger has linked to you, that's what they call a link profile, people who have linked to them. And what you want to do is you want to actually know what this link profile is, and so you can attempt to replicate. Yeah, does that make sense? So Moz is a great tool that helps you do that. My Twitter doesn't work, so it works now. And so that's one part of it. The second part is this thing about Open Site Explorer. So if you go onto Moz Open Site Explorer, what you can do is you pop in your domain name or your website, and it will show you your link profile. It will show you who's already linking to you. It will show you what's happening already there, and it gives you a score. So this is something that you actually want to do for yourself, and just figure, okay, look, here's where I'm at, and then comparing it to competitors and say, okay, how do I go further than that? So it's actually really cheap for what it gives you, so definitely something you have to check out. Most of you guys have websites, yeah? Who has a website? Yeah, great. So if you have a website, one thing I highly recommend, this is probably one of the best tools that we've used, is this thing called usertesting.com. So what user testing does is that they give you, for a small fee, you're paying 3 or 4 or 5 people to jump onto your site, and what they'll do is they'll actually do a bunch of tasks that you assign to them. So for example, it could be, I want you to browse through the site and buy something, or I want you to browse through the site and actually sign up. I want you to maybe download our app and play around with it, and maybe try to add a product, or maybe try to add suppliers. I mean, depending on what kind of app you're doing. User testing gets the guy to do all that stuff, tasks that you've assigned, and then as they're doing it, they're actually recording their screen, right? It's a video. And as they're recording their screen, they're verbalizing what they're actually thinking. So for example, it could be, let me see if I got a slide. No, I don't. Can I go back? Yeah, thanks. So what they're doing is they're actually verbalizing what they're thinking. So they say, I'm expecting like a search button here now. I don't seem to be able to find it. Okay, maybe it's right here. Why is it here? It's kind of a weird thing. So what you're actually doing is you're actually getting the benefit of someone who's looking at your site with fresh eyes, right? Every time we work on our site and we make changes, we tend to realize that because we're so used to it, right? We don't notice these small things, but your users will. So usertesting.com gives you a very easy and cheap way to do it every time you make big changes to your site. Or even, depending on your budget, but even small changes are worth to do as well. So we found this to be really helpful. We found issues and problems with our site that we never found before, and just fixing those issues. For example, the contact form is broken, or for example, logging in is broken. And these are not things that we test on a regular basis, but because we have these user tests going, they actually help us to find these problems very easily. And when we actually fix those problems, the conversion rate improves, a whole bunch of stuff improves, and that's what we actually found really useful with user testing. Cool? Yes? So the question is Moz an SEO automation tool, or is it analytics? So it's a little bit of both. The idea of SEO is that you're optimizing for the search engines to actually rank you high. And these days, knowing is as important as actually doing stuff, right? So Moz does a little bit of that whole competitive profile thing, which is knowing, the analytics stuff, the link profile stuff, that's important. And then there's also all that stuff about finding opportunities. So there's tools that help you find opportunities to say, okay, this site is actually a good target to actually approach for acquiring links for. So great question, thanks. Yeah, so you're talking about the cost comparison between using something like usertesting.com versus having your own people do it. I think it's really difficult to quantify the cost specifically because the value that you're getting from this is quite different from the value you get from having your own people do it. In the sense that when your own people do it, they're used to it, right? So what they're looking out for will be pretty boxed out. When you Yeah, right, great question. If I'm not mistaken, these used to be about 50 or 100 US dollars per test. So you just got to weigh out how much does it cost. The biggest difference I would say with usertesting.com is that they do this all the time, and so when they verbalize it, it's actually very clear. And they're looking out for things that, so what we found was that, I mean, we like the American testers because when they talk, they like to talk. And so they're very good at that. They're good at verbalizing their thoughts. What we found sometimes in Asia is that we're not very good at verbalizing our thoughts, and so we don't get very much value out of, say, conducting user tests out of that. So you want people who are able to, think something and then just say it, right? And sometimes agents are not like that. So I found this to be really helpful for that purpose. Great. Good. Yay. Crazy8.com. So I'm sure you guys have seen, heard of Neil Patel. I think he was a big part of the MaGIC Academy last year. So he did Crazy8.com. I've been using this for years, right? And basically what it is, it's a heat map tracking tool for clicks on your website and also for scrolling. So what that means is that if you install Crazy8 on your website, it actually, oh hello, keyboard setup assistant. It actually tracks where people are actually clicking. You see those little, there's no laser pointer, is there? Oh yeah, you see those little circle thingies there, right? Yeah. So those are actually clicks. So what you're actually observing as far as the user behavior on the site is concerned is that you're trying to figure out, okay, what are they clicking on, right? And have I made something look like a button when it's actually not a button? So we've seen occasions where we put up something and people try clicking on it, but it's not a button, it's just an image. And so perhaps we want to make it clickable, right? So these are some of the user behavior stuff that we do. And also what it also tracks is scrollability. So how far down does a user scroll on your site before they give up, right? So this is important too because what you want to do is you want to make sure that the copy, the arrangement of objects on the site is actually keeping the person's attention. So that's stuff you can use as well. So Crazy is great. We install it on most pages of our website. And that's where we actually start to see, okay, on the features page, what they're clicking on the pricing page, what they're clicking on, and then we make changes according to accurate data. There's a saying in our company, it says, in God we trust, all others please bring data. So that's why we're very focused around getting stuff like this to actually make decisions, yeah? Just a quick question, who's running a B2B SaaS business here? Oh, handful of you guys, great. So I'm hoping you guys will ask some good questions too, right? Because this is basically everything we do in a B2B SaaS business. Cool. All right, Google remarketing. Thank you so much. Is this better? So much better. Thanks, buddy. So Google remarketing. Have you guys ever wondered why, when you're surfing the internet, how Lazada stalks you all over the internet? Yeah, you notice those banners of Lazada just popping up everywhere, or Zalora, or StoreHub sometimes. Has anyone seen StoreHub ads? Yeah, you guys have? Okay. Good. So I'll tell you how we do it. And so basically what we do is we use a tool in Google AdWords called Google Remarketing. How many of you guys use AdWords now? A handful of you guys. Good. So basically what Google Remarketing does is that what you do is you install some code on your website which drops cookies on the browser. So what that means is that if someone visits your website, they're tracked. And then after they leave your website, maybe they are going to YouTube to watch, Let It Go or whatever, to watch a, Frozen video, and then you see them getting tracked, right? Because Google knows that they have visited your site before. What it can do is then say, okay, you'll pop up a StoreHub banner over there, right? Yes, you do have to pay for it, but I'll get to that in a moment. I'll tell you why I actually recommend it. So they finish watching their Frozen video, or the kids finish watching it, and they hop on to Laoyat to look how to configure the Unify router or bridge or something. And then again, they'll see your ad there. And so the great thing about remarketing, and if you guys are already running Google Ads, you'll find that remarketing from a cost perspective is from a, not just a cost perspective, from an ROI perspective, is very good. Yeah? So why is that the case? It's because if you think about the psychology of the way remarketing works, you know, the guy has visited your website already, yeah? So they have some sort of interest. So they either visited your website because their friend told them about it, or, you know, they saw your ad, or they found you through Facebook, and they have some sort of interest about your product. Right? What you're trying to do is that in the marketing 101, it's really, you've got to blast yourself out there from subliminally making sure that your brand is always at top of mind. So remarketing does that. Remarketing gives you a targeted audience that has visited your site, what we call high quality users, and we blast the shit out of them, right? With just these ads constantly in their face. And so what that does is that you get very good ROI as far as conversions and getting sales and getting sign-ups are concerned. That being said, the word of warning is that you should do it, but don't expect it to just double your sales tomorrow, because the number of people you actually get to reach is quite small. So you still have to have your other marketing strategies in place. But if you're not doing Google remarketing and you're running ads, you're spending money on marketing in general, I highly recommend it. Yeah, that's a you or not question. Cool. If you guys are running B2B SaaS businesses, take this down. This is like the best thing since sliced bread. There's a VC in the US called Bessemer. They are a massive $4 or $5 billion fund. They invested in Shopify, in Box, in all the big names. So they are a very big VC. Very specialized though in what we call not so much subscription model, but enterprise SaaS, B2B type businesses. So they're very good at this type of stuff. What they produce are 2 white papers. One white paper is on a Q&A on what everything a SaaS person needs to know, right? So what the Q&A covers is actually very detailed, basically stuff about how do you structure B2B inbound sales teams. And so if you have an inbound sales team, how do you have, who do you just have one sales guy, no, right? You don't just have one sales guy that does everything. What you want to do is you want to have people who are doing qualifying. So basically, when the moment the lead comes in, you want to call them or all that stuff, and then you make cold calls. And those guys, you might want to incentivize them in a particular way. And then you have those guys who are actually doing the meetings or doing the Skype calls or whatnot. And those guys you will call them account executives. And then finally, you have customer success type people. So what the white paper does, it actually breaks these things down to you in very, very good detail. When we implemented it, we saw a massive change. I mean, literally, I think we doubled our revenue the very next month. So from process perspective, especially when you're growing, especially when you start to have more salespeople, think about actually implementing that in a structure that actually fits your whole sales process, and also incentivizing them in a way that actually, gives them drives the right behavior. So I think that's what the first white paper is about. The second white paper is actually about metrics. So if you're running a SaaS business, you want to be able to think through the right metrics. You want to measure the right things, because what you measure is what you treasure, and when you don't measure, you actually just it just doesn't sit right. So what it does, what this white paper talks about, it's very specific metrics. Most of us talk about MRR, monthly recurring revenue, or the annualized version of that, ARR. We talk about CAC, the customer acquisition cost, and lifetime value. But it goes into deeper details. Exactly what kind of metrics you need to be measuring for a VC or for an investor type to actually be interested in your business. These are the metrics that they'll be interested in, and you should be measuring them yourself, right? And then to be able to monitor, okay, if I'm doing this right, then these metrics should move in the right direction as well. So that's a really, really good thing. When we started doing that, my whole mindset about B2B SaaS shifted, and I thought it was really helpful. Okay, so what happens once you structure out your sales teams and all that stuff? Well, this ebook changed our sales process as well. Because yes, we can structure out the teams, right? But how are you going to some degree train them-ish? So we got a book like this about inbound sales. In inbound sales, the idea of inbound sales is that you're getting leads. So we get a couple of hundred leads, say a month from Facebook or from Google. How do we best manage these leads? And so you got your sales development guys, you got your account executives. How are they actually going to do, how are they actually going to reach out to these people? So one thing that we found really, really good from this book, and again, changed the business overnight, was we used to have them all go into our CRM, which I'll show later. and then we'll call them maybe within 2 or 3 days, right? So most of us would do something like that, right? Call them within 2 or 3 days, or maybe a week. And what we found is that the book, when you say, look, what you should really be doing is that the moment they sign up, you should call them within 5 minutes. Sounds pretty extreme? Yeah, but extreme works, because what is actually happening is that when you call them within 5 minutes, the likelihood of them actually engaging with your app is high, very, very high. But most of the time, they're right there in front of the computer or the tablet, and they get a phone call, and they say, hey, hi, my name is Juan from StoreHub. I noticed you just signed up, a couple minutes ago. Just wanted to call to see how things are, and whether there's anything I can do to help. So not spammy, just offering your help, is there anything you can do? And we used to have people forget who we are. So most of the time we call and they're like, who's StoreHub? Right? You don't really know who they are, right? So, but because you're calling within that 5 minute span, you're actually getting the attention. You're actually, they know who you are. We never have that who you are question anymore. In fact, some people resort to things like, I'm driving now. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You can't be downloading the app and driving, right? So it's actually been really good. A lot of tools, lots of tips in there. If you guys don't even have a script for calling, you don't have a, how do you do cold calls, how do you do inbound calls, how do you do 5-minute calls, that book was huge for us. So we made everyone read it, and then we had an all hands that we talked about it, and what stood out, what didn't stand out. So that's something that I highly recommend. And it's very cheap, I think it's like $20 US. I got it for a discount, $10, but $20 US, $10, so much. The value it creates is a lot more than that, right? So that's what's the point. Number 7, does anyone use a support tool for your tickets? You guys all run businesses, right? Oh dear, one person does it. So how do you actually get emails in? You go to your Gmail box, and then that's hard to manage. So what we recommend is you use a tool like Freshdesk. There's lots of other tools out there. There's Zendesk. There's all kinds of different tools that you can use for managing emails, email tickets. So basically any inquiries that come from clicking the contact us button on the website, to sending an email to support@storehub.com, to actually even submitting a ticket through this, goes into Freshdesk. And Freshdesk enables you to scale and manage your support better. So you're tracking stuff, you're managing all your tickets that come in. So this is really important. I won't dwell on this, but if you don't already use something like this, please do. It's really important. Even if you're starting with 1 or 2 people, it's worth to use a tool like this, because then it allows you to set the culture right and then scale accordingly. Okay? Intercom. So how many of you guys have Intercom installed? Oh wow, good. Because most of the time I see startups these days, everyone has Intercom installed. So Intercom is great. Why? Because Asians don't read emails. That's one thing I learned. So when I used to run my business in Australia, emails was very key, right? So everyone reads their email, and the US is the same. And I think the reason for that is because in those countries, they started out, the whole internet thing was a linear kind of growth. And what you started to see, people started with email addresses first, and then they sign up on Yahoo and MSN and go on chat. And then they do stuff like, so email was very core to that. What we found, especially in Malaysia or just Asia in general, is that a lot of people get their mobile phones before they even get an email address. And they get a smartphone. And so the whole instant messaging culture thing is a huge thing, right? And so we're so much more used to IM than email. A lot of times email is just we don't need a lot of stuff that goes in there. And so our open rates and all that stuff is actually very low. When we installed Intercom, we had a little chat thing in a back office, right? In the back office of the app. And within 1 day of installing it, the number of interactions we got with not just our existing customers, but with new signups, doubled. So if you imagine, literally we had maybe 20 emails a day. The very next day after installing this, we got 40 conversations going, right? And most of it was IM. And we're like, what's this phenomenon, right? Why are people so... And it's because, I think we're not Malaysian, we don't like to write full sentences. We don't like to short, instant... I think it's because we're trained that way. We're trained to write it on instant messaging. And in instant messaging, you're always short, you're always... So when you write emails, when we have sometimes very long, lengthy emails, and people get intimidated, do I have to reply long and lengthy as well? And when you have a tool like Intercom, which is sitting in the actual app itself, and it's instant messaging, then people actually engage a lot. It's something that they're so accustomed to, so they're more willing to engage, right? They're willing to engage because they know that if they type hello, even if you reply and they don't say anything else, it's okay, right? Because that's instant messaging etiquette. Am I doing that badly that you're turning off? Sorry. front just can listen to. Oh, he didn't like me. You guys, the rest of you guys still okay? I'll get to you in one bit. Oh yeah, sorry, your question? Intercom?
It's about, so means these are tools that you use to check with your customer, which you need the customer to sign up on this also? How it works?
Yeah, so what you do is that, okay, so can you see that over there? Sorry, you guys might have to just have giraffe next. But basically, I'm not sure you can see it. You see the pop-up on the right?
Yeah. So it's basically a plugin that you put into your own
your app
SaaS.
or your website or whatever it is, yeah.
But why won't you develop your own chat? I mean,
because I have to develop my own app, and I've got 2 developers. Right? I mean, like it's for us, it's focused, and what they built is amazing, literally, right? So the amount of automation, for example, that you can do, the amount of rules-based things. I mean, they've thought through a lot of things, and because they serve a lot more customers, their product development is very good. So normally, for me, I'm a tools geek. You know, I don't know what you guys do for your free time, but for my free time, I search the web for tools. Like seriously, I would like literally just I enjoy going through like lists of tools and signing up to various shit and like just trying to figure out what's good and what's not good. So the thing is this: all the tools that I talk about here are very cheap. Because I'm very cheap, you know. So I mean, it's either cheap or free. So none of this here is for people with lots and lots of money, right? The great thing about tools these days is that you can start small and low cost, and they will scale as you grow. So maybe you pay $50 a month today, and then tomorrow because you have 10,000 users, you pay $200. Which is fair, right? So most of these tools have a scaling kind of plan, right? So my recommendation is this: you try some of these things, and if you see value, and you don't need to shut it down. And that's the beauty of SaaS, right? That you can try, find value, you see value, great, stick to it, pay for it, you know, beg, borrow, or steal however you can to. No one likes me here today. It's like, you know, aircon, projector. Hope you guys are still okay. Yeah, so maybe I don't know. Is this not going to come on anytime soon? Okay, we just do lots of questions. Sorry, did that answer your question?
So it means of all because there's a lot of live chat tools out there. So this is the best that you.
Okay, so this is not live chat. Live chat is one of the components of intercom, right? So this is more than live chat in the sense that it's actually, the big difference is that this is my app, yeah? Okay, so that's my app, and it's a tool that people who are already in my app can use. And what that means is that I can also do triggers. So for example, you sign in here already, right? And I can trigger a message. It says, pop up and say, oh, hello, welcome, why don't you try adding a product? And then they go and add a product. And once they've added a product, it triggers another message. It's why don't you do? So the conversational aspect of it is very important. So and a lot of what we find from a behavior perspective is that because they look so personal, there's a face and it's a hi message, and so we use one of the just one second, let me finish the question. That actually, and people think it's a conversation, so they always respond, right? So that's the thing.
But is it compatible with any kind of what kind of framework?
It's just for web based. It's just JavaScript. You just drop it to your web back office. There's iOS, there's Android stuff you can do as well. So question over there first, I think. Yes. I need a mic from you because you're a bit too far. Sorry.
Can you elaborate more on how you actually managed to use it to double the sign-ups?
Double the sign-ups?
Yeah. You mentioned you double the sign-up with it, so...
With Intercom?
Yes.
So with Intercom, we didn't double the sign-ups. With Intercom, we doubled the conversations.
Okay.
So what that means is that before, if we got 20 emails, now we have 40, 20 emails, 15 intercoms, so on and so forth. So the idea is that what we hypothesized and what we believe happened was that intercom was a more familiar medium for people to talk to you. And because it's IM and it's very familiar to them, they're more comfortable using it as opposed to writing you an email. Writing an email can be quite a difficult process, right? Even for me today. So that was what we found happened. And when we had more conversations, of course the conversion rate goes up. because the experience of the person experiencing a product is much better. As long as you respond to them within like 5 minutes. So that's our KPI.
Okay, a quick one.
Yeah.
I'm using a user voice today. So
User voice, okay.
have you tried it? So if you compare user voice with this,
I think they're different purposes. I don't think user voice sits in your app. I know for certain that the main driver of change in our case was the fact that it was sitting in the app itself and it looked like a conversation. User voice is not there. I don't think so.
user voice has a small little gadget there, like it's more for help purposes.
Right. Yeah. So I think in our case it's very much about conversations. Yeah.
Okay.
In Fong's case, I don't run into Fong. I wish I did. Question here. Answered already. Super. Glad you guys are thinking alike. Oh, hello. Welcome back. Cool. Pipe drive. Oh, this is by far one of my favoriteest tools that I came across in all my life. Does any of you guys use CRM tools for managing your sales and leads? Yeah? Bitch, whatever you have, use this. Sorry, but it's so good. I think I've tested like 15 different CRM or sales tools and whatnot. And what we found great about Pipe Drive is that the visual aspect of it is superb. So what you do is you actually create multiple columns, what we call them actually? Stages in this pipe. And what the idea is that everything starts on the left, yeah, and finishes on the right. And when I say everything, what I'm talking about is leads. So for example, if a customer signs up, if a customer sends an email, if a customer calls you up, we're creating leads on the left-hand side, right? So we're creating leads there for what we call our sales development reps to follow up. So the first 4 stages, it's basically with an idea stage, with a contacted waiting for reply, with a contacted reply, and with a hot lead stage. So for sales development rep, they're the first point of entry. They're like the director of first impressions. What you're going to do is they're going to take that lead, call them within 5 minutes, yeah, remember that? And then we're going to move that lead. This is a hot lead, it's not a hot lead. Did they pick up the phone? Did they not pick up the phone? If they did any of that stuff, what's next? Right? How do we actually progress them, right? When do we schedule the next time we're going to call them? So what they do is they try to move the leads as far right as possible, yeah? And if the leads are cold, we call them on the first week, we call them the second week, and we send them 10,000 emails. We don't send them 10,000 emails, we send for free. And they just don't want to pick up our phone, we just use them. So we kick them out of this actually pipe. And then once they get to hot leads, the goal for the sales development reps is to organize for meetings. So whether it's in person or over, Join Me or Skype, and that's where it has there's this column, this stage called appointment schedule, and that's where the sales warriors, we call them sales warriors, you might call them account executives, they will come in and they'll actually work through those meetings and drive them towards, meet, discover, verbal confirmation, and actually finally winning them. So Pipedrive visualizes all these things, and it's very powerful because when an activity, for example, I don't think you guys can see very clearly, but when an activity that someone does or has scheduled is missed, meaning, for example, if I schedule a call 2 days later, and 2 days later comes and I don't actually make the call, it will always show up here as red, yeah? And so what we do is we take all these data and we funnel them into our dashboard, and it shows there very clearly. I don't have my dashboard here because you can't actually buy the dashboard anymore. The company got bought over. But I would love to show you if you guys want to see that later. But what we do is we funnel all that information, all that numbers. Okay, we have 20 activities that were scheduled, but they were not done, right? And that appears in the dashboard that everybody sees. Yeah? So what it does is it gives some sort of accountability and so on. It's just beautiful. I mean, a lot of stuff we do with Pipedrive, with managing leads and actually driving them towards a win, that has been huge for us. So we love Pipedrive. So if you're doing any form of sales, then definitely have a go at it. Yes, question. Is it customizable? Yes, the columns are all customizable. So you can do whatever you want. You can even have multiple pipes. So if you imagine this as a pipe, right? Because it starts wide, it gets smaller. You can have a sales pipe, you can have a recruitment pipe, and whatnot. So, like for example, when we did the career fair last year, we had a recruitment pipe. We put everyone here, and then we used it for that purpose. But I would say it's best used for managing leads and sales. Any other questions? Integration. I need a mic as well. I can't hear you, sorry.
can you actually export all these contacts out and do something with it with other?
So so it depends on how advanced you are. If you want, you can use an API to pull it all out, or you can. I'm not sure whether you can export. I think you can. I think you can export CSV. If you can, you definitely can. So we do export it every now and then to track lost reasons. Right, so when someone actually loses a deal, right, they'll say, okay, the deal was lost because the guy's a stingy bastard. I don't know, whatever it is, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have. And basically we're tracking them and we say, okay, what percentage of deals were lost because of this reason, what percentage of deals were lost for that reason, and we're monitoring that on and so okay, we know there's so many deals that were lost because it was features, right, that's not there. And then we build a bunch of features that we think these guys wanted, do these numbers still stack up next month. Right, so that's how we use the data here as well.
And I think kind of sidetrack. Just want to know, because you're running a B2B business.
Yeah.
I just want to know how much percentage of the deals can be closed by without human going. So I just want to know because I know that when you go to bigger companies, you need more salesperson to close and all that, but how many percent are we talking about? I mean, whole sales from prospect until closing, or internet and email?
Honestly, it really depends on the type of business you have and the type of product you're selling. For our product, because the type of people we're dealing with are very used to face-to-face kind of engagement, I would say most of them would still require some kind of face-to-face thing. That being said, face-to-face doesn't have to be physically in person, face to face. It can be over a video meeting, right? So our customers, a large percentage of them is actually not even in Klang Valley, and we don't have any people outside of Klang Valley. So we've been able to close people who are not in KL itself.
Do you have tools on this kind of thing later?
Tools to close. I would say join.me is something that we use for. I can share a few things with you later. Does anyone else want to hear some of these tools? Yeah. Okay. So maybe right at the end we'll do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So just remind me if I forget.
Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions about Pipedrive? No. Yes. After. There's not anything else with Pipedrive? Yes. I need mic there too. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. Do you have any integrations of website whereby we can link all the leads to this Pipedrive?
So you have leads coming into your website, to your app.
So I want to record all the leads from the website or whatever tools that I have in the internet.
Yeah. Sign up. So if they sign up to our app, our developers have built a simple API call to just send the lead into here. If they called or they send an email, it's manual. There's no way to, I mean, could you, yeah, you could sort of, depending on the software they use, maybe they send you an email in Freshdesk, this tool we have before, right? And then in Freshdesk, I think you can have a button that says create deal in Pipedrive, but it's really not terribly, it's still manual. You still have to click on a button. So you can do some stuff like that, but it's not going to be fully automated. You can use the API, yeah. You can use the API, I think. But again, it's just the data integrity part of it. That's where it's a bit iffy. So we still prefer the sales development reps, especially with phone calls or emails or whatnot, to actually do it manually, because we have a certain expectation for them to create scheduled activities for other people as well. So that it depends on how much automation is allowed in your own flow. Okay? But good point. We'll talk about Zapier later too. Charge fee. Oh yeah, I love this. The guys that do B2B SaaS, let's not talk about B2B SaaS. How many of you guys do subscription businesses? Subscription. So it could be, selling flowers, subscription, or what subscription business do you do? You? Yeah. So it's a subscription for. You're planning to do subscription.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm not sure how you guys do your billing right now, but if you guys are doing monthly subscription billing, I can guarantee you it's probably a nightmare, because I don't know how much you're charging for an app, and ours is anywhere from 130 ringgit to 250 ringgit, but I hope you guys are not collecting 130 ringgit checks on a monthly basis, because that's just an accounting and a billing nightmare. So what we did was that we found a great tool to do billing subscription management. So if you're running any kind of subscription business, I highly recommend this tool. We cannot live without ChargeBee. We cannot scale without ChargeBee. What ChargeBee does is that it tracks every single customer's account for when is the next time you're going to bill them. If they change their credit card details, who's going to manage that? What if the credit card is about to expire? What if the credit card that you're trying to charge fails? How often do you continue to charge that? Do you send emails? Just automating all this billing stuff. There's a lot of stuff here that you don't want to be doing manually. You don't want to be running a spreadsheet with all these guys and then calling it one by one or trying to reconcile. If someone sends you a bank payment and then you're like, oh, in the name of the reference is StoreHub. Okay, it's 129 ringgit in my bank account that has a reference to StoreHub. So I'm not going to track this. People can be quite dumb sometimes. So we've used this tool because we know that in order for us to scale, we cannot deal with nonsense like this. Right? We can't deal with this kind of billing thing. You could probably handle it up to 100 manually. When you get to a couple hundred, that's when you really start to feel the pain, right? Yes. Yep.
Is this useful?
Depends on how you think about it. So it depends on whether your customers are happy to pay with credit card. If they are, then I would say yes. If not, then the value you're getting out of it is just to manage your billing and knowing when to collect and all that stuff. In those cases, I would say not so useful. But if you're especially if you do monthly, then yes. If you do monthly, definitely. If you do annually with this kind of ticket sizes and you're okay with the customers not paying for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, then fine. We are not. So because we're charging on a monthly basis, what happens is that if let's say your credit card fails 4 times after we tried it couple of times, and within 14 days, it actually deactivates the account. So if you're a cafe owner using StoreHub and you didn't pay for 2 weeks, right, from when you due, the ChargeBee actually deactivates the account and it sends an API call to our server, which means that the guy's iPad actually gets deactivated. Not the iPad itself, but the app. So what will happen is that we have this automated way of managing bad customers as well. The moment the billing has a problem, it immediately triggers an action on the front end. And so what that does is actually really good for us. We don't even have to worry about guys not paying. They're not paying, fine, just let it deactivate, they will call us up. So that's been really, really good for us. Now, some of you guys may be wondering, well, for the longest time actually, it's how do you do the credit card payment stuff, right? Because in the past, guys like iPay88, who processes credit card transactions? Credit card transactions, anyone? Okay, a bunch of you guys. So the guys that use things like iPay88 or MoPay, those payment gateways don't actually integrate with this. So for the longest of times, I was very frustrated because it meant that I might have to build my own billing subscription management software, right? And then they'll tell you, no, we also have recurring transactions. Okay, well, recurring transactions is not the same as billing subscription management. Right? Recurring transactions means you're just going to charge the same card at that time of the month, every single month. Right? But what happens, again, like I said, when the card expires, when there's a payment failure, when they upgrade or downgrade, who's going to manage all that change? That's what ChargeBee does. But as of a couple of months ago, if you guys know Braintree, yeah? So Braintree came to town, they now accept Malaysian customers. I'm like, yay, hooray. And Braintree integrates with ChargeBee. So it's a perfect marriage because what Braintree does is it allows you to charge customers' credit cards and all that stuff works together seamlessly with ChargeBee. So if they need to charge it a second time or a third time or a fourth time, it's all seamlessly integrated together. And the thing about billing, I know a few guys did credit card transactions as well, but if you're doing credit card transactions, then one problem in Malaysia is something called 3D Secure. You guys familiar with 3D Secure? It's that thing when you're buying something online or your handphone beeps because there's an SMS and you're supposed to key the number. So if you do monthly billing, you can't have 3D Secure, right? Because the guy's not there when you're charging him. So Braintree does not require 3D Secure to process transactions. And that's why we love it, because it scales seamlessly. Any questions on these two? Yes. I need a mic, I think, sorry.
For Touch B, what's the percentage of dependency on a technical person to run it, or to implement it?
I think setting up, you might need some kind of technical help, but once you set up it, the guys that use Touch B the most in our company are the customer success people, the sales development reps, and even the sales warriors. So the sales type, the non-technical people use it most.
So as a site, you need a technical person, but maintaining it.
Yes and no. Depends on how much integration you want. But generally speaking, if you want to say, for example, every time someone signs up for your app, you want the information to go into Touch B, right? You want an account to be created. So that requires some technical integration. So your developer might have to write something in your app that says, okay, every time a sign up happens, create an account in Touch B. Yeah. And then when something happens in Touch B, you want it to go to reflect your app as well, right? So you need some integration there. So between your app and Touch B, you definitely need some technical integration. But I think beyond that, yeah. Yes?
With the changes in sort of privacy and all those kind of sensitivity laws here in Malaysia, have you seen any changes in the kinds of tools you use or how you use them to be compliant with those privacy regulations sort of thing? Because you're feeding a lot of customer data and these things, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on which privacy things you're talking about. I mean, there is super sensitive information like credit card information and whatnot. We don't keep any of that. The tools do, the Braintree houses, all that stuff. They're talking about phone numbers and email addresses and names. That's what the PDPA, the Privacy Act, protects against. We found it to be okay as long as you're reasonable with how you manage that data. So I think it's not an issue that we really see as something major. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm not sure, honestly, because I'm not an expert in PDPA, I'm not an expert in privacy. I'm just good at getting customers, maybe. But yeah, so I may not be the best person to answer you, so don't take my word for that. Cool. So no other questions around Touch B, Braintree? Literally life-saving for us. We can't scale, we can't grow without this tool. These two specifically. Slack. I hope you guys most of you guys use Slack, right? No? How many of you guys use Slack? Oh yeah. So Slack is, just for the guys who don't use it, is a communications tool for the company, right? So it's within the company, internal communications tool. It's instant messaging, it's channels, it's all that stuff. Now, why am I putting it up here is because we found it to be super useful for, not just for communications, but for fostering some kind of like, just the cultural stuff we do. And one of the things that I noticed though is that for a lot of people who use Slack, the biggest problem that they see is adoption. I'm not sure if you guys will put up your hands whether you guys feel the same way. I know a lot of, even MaGIC, they tell me that not even, only about 30 or 40%, I guess, people actually really engage on Slack. It's not adopted fully. And one thing that we've done is we have implemented a bunch of stuff to actually make adoption easier, which is we created a bunch of channels. So we have a channel called notifications, we have a channel called what do you call that, sign-ups, we have a channel called I think tasks. And what these channels actually do is that they actually get every time a sign-up happens, our app, our server will actually post a little thing in Slack. Or every time there's a new ticket in Freshdesk, or there's a new response from Intercom, they all get funneled into Slack channels. So what this does, it creates a sense of, something's happening, let's react to it, let's do something about it. And that's been good, not just from a response perspective of triggering something for the guys to actually respond to, but it's also good because then everyone seems to get the chance to be aware of what's happening. So we found that to be a very good way to increase adoption is when you have certain key events popping up in Slack. And they're real time, they're very trackable. So that's actually really good. We took the team to Bali recently, and so we have a Bali channel and a bunch of random photos over there. So yeah, we do all kinds of weird, quirky stuff. We share frozen videos. No, we don't. Slack. But yeah, so I encourage you guys to use Slack. Also because the history for everything is tracked. It's very easy. You drag and drop a file into it. It's super good. And I actually think it was really, really good for us.
So from a communications perspective, it sits well on the phone. I've got a team in China, and in China, Facebook doesn't work, Google Chat doesn't work, a whole bunch of stuff doesn't work, so Slack works very well. And we used to use HipChat. Anyone guys familiar with HipChat? Very technical, but HipChat didn't work very well in China, so we use Slack, and Slack is awesome. Cool? Any questions about this? I think very straightforward, right? Slack. If you don't try it out, I think it's free up to a certain. I think it's free. It's if you only need to pay if you want to track like history and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good. In Tweet, QuickBooks Online. So how many of you guys do accounting on Excel? Oh, none of you guys. Oh, okay, a few honest people. Good. Thank you for your honesty. I cannot imagine doing accounting in Excel. If you want to see my P&L, technically speaking, I can put it up on my phone right now for you. It will be live. My balance sheet, everything is on my phone because we use a cloud-based accounting solution called QuickBooks. QuickBooks is beautiful. I mean, I don't know how I can even describe accounting as beautiful, but I can because it's QuickBooks. And it works on your desktop, your iPad, your mobile phone. And basically, if you're not using a tool to manage accounts, for us, we actually have so much visibility in what's happening financially, just because all that stuff is happening there. My accounts person is managing on one end, my accountant is also playing around with stuff, and all that stuff is updated real time for me, so I can just I don't have to call my accountant, hey, Atan, can you send me the P&L? Yeah, I don't have to do that, right? I just pull out my phone and actually do. Actually, my accountant is not Atan, my accountant is Abu Bakar. So, I have to speak differently. But yeah, that's basically the I think QuickBooks is awesome. It's invoicing is very beautiful. So you send out beautiful invoices to your customers. You can send it by email. You track all that stuff when it's paid. Our sales people actually create the invoices, and then our accounts will reconcile them. So there's a very seamless, no need for double entry kind of process. So that's been really, really good. So you guys don't have not using an accounting tool. I can't stress how sick I am of looking at shitty tools like UBS and MyOb and MYOB and all these ugly things I don't understand. SQL, oh my god, I can't stand it, right? I look at all these tools, I'm like, oh my god, are you guys using this shit? And then I come to QuickBooks and I'm like, oh yay, awesome, man, it's beautiful accounting. It's a big company, so if you guys want to know, it's like a share price dropped recently, $26 billion company in the US, so it's one of the best tools out there. Alright, let me just, Workable. You guys are hiring already, right? I'm assuming some of you guys are. So if you're hiring, we use a tool called Workable. It's what we call a applicant tracking system, ATS, and it's basically a tool that allows you to track the different stages of where a person is in the hiring process. It allows you to send emails through Workable as well, and when they respond, it goes into Workable as well, so all the records of communication is there. It's great. It's a great tool. We love it. I'm going to share with you a bit of a really quick hack how we use it very effectively and connected it up to JobStreet just in a second. But yeah, one of the coolest things about Workable is also that you get resumes in from random sources. What you can do in Workable, you can drag your resume, drop it there, and it will pass all the information in the resume and actually put it in the right field. So the name, the phone number, the email address, it will just automatically read the resume and chuck it into like the system. It's beautiful, I love it. So the drag and drop thing sorted for me, so that's how we got it to Workable. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a bit of how we hack recruiting. Because we all know that's a painful process, right? So what's the typical process like? You go on to JobStreet, you put up a job ad, and 10,000 people, maybe 200 people sign up, and they send you all these bloody resumes, you look at it, your eyes will die already, like, oh my god, how am I going to filter through all these people, right? And because you don't have a HR person like me, you have to just go through every single one of them, and you care about every single person that you bring to the company, so you're you're doing everything. So what we did was I'll show you the process, right? So we started on JobStreet, we put up an ad as per usual, yeah? And, we got for this position, we got 180 applicants, which is not bad, right? Not bad. But way too many for me to screen, yeah? Manually. So what we did was we crafted the first email template, and in the first email template, which goes out to them one day after they applied for the job, we included a link. It says something like, we are interested to bring you for an interview, but we would love for you to do a short online test. and we included a link. And in this link, it's a link to a type form. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of type form before. It's a little bit like what are the tools that they use, SurveyMonkey or stuff like that. But it's beautiful. You must check out Typeform. I'm happy for you guys to just go on Typeform now. It's beautiful. It's like a form that just amazes you, right? So basically, it's a form. You get them to fill out the form. And in this form, we actually ask a whole bunch of questions, right? You know, your name, da-da-da-da. Are you serious about applying for the job? Can you imagine some people say, not really. And are you... take a look at and we ask them random questions like, who is the wife of Albert Einstein? And then, random questions. So we wanted to test whether they can Google it or not, right? You just go to Google it, right? Wife of Albert Einstein, boom, and the answer comes up. I think like 20% of the guys can't do it. So what we do is we answer these questions, and with Typeform, what you can do is you can actually score the answers, right? So if you answer, not really, okay, 0. You answer, yeah, super excited, 1. Okay, so you're scoring all the questions, and basically the interested applicants, the really serious applicants, they'll do it, right? Because, we got 180 applicants. Is everyone going to bother to click on the link and actually do it? Probably not. So that's a form of screening already. So you screen out the donkeys, and then you have like 50 guys who are pretty serious. And then out of these 50 guys, there might be some guys who are not really interested in applying for the job. They just like Typeform, whatever it is. And then so you score them, right? So what happens when you score them is that you use a tool called Zapier. And what Zapier does, it will actually pull the data from Typeform. So all these applicants that have applied to Typeform, you can actually grab them and actually dump them into Workable. So you guys remember this tool? Workable? Yeah? So if you notice some of these applicants here, these were actually, they started out in JobStreet, 180 of them. They got an email from us one day after they applied. It's all automatic, right? And then a bunch of them, maybe about 30% of them actually did the Typeform. Based on their score from maybe 5 to 10, whatever it is, we say, in this case, we say, if you score above 5, all right, we'll put them into Workable, and then we'll manually review it. So they have appeared here, right? So that whole flow, JobStreet, automated email, Typeform, Workable, that cut down our screening process by a lot, right? So that was really, really good for us, and yeah. So post-screening, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do post-screening, but it's not really a tool, but I'll just drop a little story. We actually do, I don't know how much you guys invest into actually, your recruitment process, right? But we used to, for us, it's a very important thing, hiring the right people, getting good people on board is an important thing. So we used to run like so we used to think about all the questions that we asked during the interview, and we say, what answer are we trying to get from this guy, and what are we trying to test for? So one of our values is humility. So we wanted to test for humility. And so you guys want to know, how do you test for humility, right? So this is not related to any of the tools. I just thought it would be fun to throw in. But we came up with a test. So we spent hours thinking through a humility test. And then we came out with it. And so basically what we did was we crammed all these interviews into a week. It's like 30 or 40 of them. I think 30-ish. And we got one of our friends, domestic helpers. So she came in. I think she Indonesian, and then we told her to pretend to be a cleaner. So she had just walking around the office and sort of cleaning. And then we trained her to carry a file with a box of paper clips on it. And as the applicant is sitting down there, writing their thing, she walks by and drops the box of paper clips at the feet of the applicant. And we're like, oh, hey, that's, and so we just watch. Would the person help or not help, right? And we will play a game here. So how many guys think, what percentage of people actually help? Shout a number. 50? 10% help? 20? Anything from behind? 30? Yeah, all you guys have a very dismal view of Malaysians, huh? That's terrible. No faith in a fellow countrymen. Yeah, so out of the 30, I think, that we interviewed, 3 helped. So, yeah. So it was very sad. I mean, but you see, the funny part was I played a game with my office manager, and I was in the room, and I didn't see what was happening outside, and she saw. So she come in after the interview and say, hey, so, pick up or not pick up. And we'll play a game. And the funny thing was that I ranked them, right? And the funny thing was that the correlation between the top 3 candidates that I ranked to the candidates that had picked up the paperclips, the correlation was 1. Literally the same 3 people that did it were the same top 3 people that I evaluated, right, after interviewing them. Might as well have just sent the rest home after the paperclip test. So I mean, I guess when you guys are evaluating people for yourself, I think through these things. I think through people are best tested when they don't know they're being tested. Yeah, does that make sense? So think of ways to test for the things that are important to you. For us, humility is important. For you guys, whatever it is, figure out a test for that. Anyways, random hacking recruiting kind of tip, not really a tool but a hack. Let me keep going. Zapier. All right, Team HR. Excuse me. So what is Team HR? So you've got them into the doors of your company. You love them. They are humble. They are smart. They've got a great attitude. So what Team HR does for us, it actually manages the onboarding process. So you create a bunch of tasks and a bunch of things for the guy to do, pictures, links, and all that stuff in Team HR, and you just send them there. And if you guys don't realize already, in our company we use a total of 29 different tools. So if you ever work with us, you'll be overwhelmed in the first 6 months or so, or probably 3 months. But Team HR helps to deal with that. So basically, there's all these tools, the login details, and everything in there, and just basic stuff that helps to manage the onboarding process. So every new person gets this, and they will actually just go through it, right? And just work their way through that. So it helps us to manage onboarding. It also helps us to manage leave. So, if you have time off, right? So we can do an accrual-based kind of time off. So if you work for 3 months, you only get a couple of days leave. So that's the kind of system that we adopt. And it shows the person in a very visual format how much leave they can take, how much leave they've taken in different categories. So annual leave, sick leave, so on and so forth. So that's basically, we use Team HR for this. It's basically onboarding process management and ongoing leave management, as well as you can use it to store key employee details, right? So, their name, their bank account details, all that stuff you can store in there. So we use it for that purpose. It's not too expensive, it's great. I mean, for the value that it creates, I think it's worth it. But probably not until you're like more than 10 people, I think. Yeah, so it's not I think half the value is from leave management, which technically speaking under 10 you can kind of do manually. The other half of the value is onboarding, which technically under 10 you don't do a lot of. So I would say more than 10, maybe that's where you start adopting Team HR. Yeah, so we're going to the last segment, which is hack yourself. How many of you guys don't use a password manager? Meaning you type the password every single time you log into a page, you're always typing the password yourself. Oh dear, you're wasting too many hours of your time. So I recommend you use something like 1Password. It's a great tool. Why? I tell you why. Because 1Password has an iPhone app and has a browser app, a browser extension. And basically nowadays so what you do is you have a super long master password that you type like once every whenever. And when you're on a website, you just go like what's the Apple command like /, and it just populates the field for you, right? So it's super fast. I save myself so much time for that. That's one good part about 1Password. The other good part is that I have my passwords on my phone. So if I tap on the 1Password app, I know you guys can't see me from behind, but I got a fingerprint and it just boom, I can access all my passwords straight away. So I don't have to type a super long password or anything, just my fingerprint. So access to my passwords anytime, anywhere, that's super important for me because I have very complex passwords. So with 1Password, now we actually have the password generator stuff. So I actually have very different passwords for all my logins. I suspect like what I was before, most of you guys will have similar passwords for most of your sites. Don't recommend it. I highly recommend that you diversify your passwords across different sites. Simply because these days, if you have a SB Medicine account, and then boom, that password is compromised, all your other accounts where all the incriminating information is at anyway will get compromised too. So you don't want that. You don't want to do that. Use a password generator, generate a complex password, and then use a tool like 1Password to actually keep it easy. So it's a mix of security, convenience, and just good management of yourself in general. Sidekick. Okay, this is cool. You guys send emails out. So there's two use cases for this. One is if you're a salesperson. What we learn in the inbound sales book is that the moment someone reads your email, you want to call them. Yeah? And some of you guys are wondering, well, how the heck do I know when he's reading the email? Right? Don't know. Oh, well, with Sidekick you can know. So with Sidekick, what you do is you install it in I think it only works in Gmail, but you install it as an extension. And every time you send an email, it has a little pixel thing there that tracks, opens, and stuff like that. So when someone actually opens your email, you can know. It pops up, and it's a mobile phone app as well. So when the moment they open the email, you know, okay, call them up, man. They're like opening my email, like then when you call them, it's like, how do you guys know I'm reading his email? You know, it's kind of like a bit scary, like, you know. Say I'm a Jedi. This is how Jedis work. They use tools. So that's a really good way to use it. One of the things that so our sales guys, they are mind readers, they are Jedi Knights because they use Sidekick and they surprise our customers all the time. The other way, if you're raising money, it's also really good to use Sidekick. Why? Because when you send emails out to VCs and investors, you want to know whether they open the damn thing or not, right? And I found so I see the guy, he's opening it. Oh shucks, he's opening it again. Oh wait, he's opening it again. Oh, he's very interested. Okay, so I just hold on. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually really, really useful. And then some other guy that doesn't open it for like weeks, and then finally he opens it, and he's this is the perfect time to send him a follow-up email. Right? And again, he thinks you're a mind reader. Don't tell my investors that. So the guy that doesn't open your email for a long time finally opens the email after 2 weeks. Send him a follow-up email just so that and it's fresh on his mind, right? He just opened your email. He gets the follow-up email. He's like, oh, right, okay, I should respond. So I mean, these are some of the ways that you use, I guess, Sidekick. Any questions? I know I'm. What time is it now? 12:23. I got to 1:15, right? Wow, lots of time. I'm just bullet training too. My English is horrible. All right, Sidekick. All right, got a bonus, right? So just in case you guys get bored. So this is our office, sort of. Is there anything that you notice that's strange about this office? Anything stands out? No? Okay, everyone's wearing yellow, but that's because that's our color, yes? No what? No paper. Oh, that's true. That's because you hid it underneath the table, actually. It's photo shooting time, so we hid everything. Anything else? You guys notice? Oh, teddy bears. Oh yeah, they're very cute. A lot of ghosts in the office. I think we have like 60% ghosts or 70% ghosts, and we have all female engineering team. CTO senior. Anyway, anything else? The what? The dot? The what? Sorry. Oh, sticky notes. Yeah, but that's very common these days, right? Everyone has sticky notes in the office. Good man. So you guys all notice the green stuff that everyone's using? Yeah? So I'm a gamer. I can tell you from my gaming experience that using a shitty mouse with a shitty mouse pad is a lot harder to play games than using a good mouse or a gaming mouse with a gaming mouse pad. Right? Because you're moving, in games, right, you have to have very accurate movements of your position is important, speed is important. So we made everyone get a gaming mouse pad and a mouse. It's a small investment, I think $100 or so. And basically the idea is if you can save or improve your mouse movement and clicks by 10% faster for everyone across the board of the company, you are increasing productivity by 10%, sort of. And that's a big deal. So, from my experience, it helps. We have some rebels. I know some people still don't want to use it, but I give them shit every day for it. But yeah, the most of them are compliant, and I can. And a lot of them never thought it would make a difference, but once they start using it, it's like, wow, this is actually a lot faster, a lot more efficient. I don't have to move my mouse there and miss, and then finally click on the close button. So I can just move one time and then click on it. It's really good. So yeah, I think that's all the slides I've got. There's a few questions that we have from before, and then we'll work through those. And then if you guys have more questions, please, I love questions. This is my favorite part, actually. So the question you had before was, I totally forgot. Do you remember? Right. So the tool that we use is join.me. Yeah, that's one tool. Join.me. Yep, we use that. I mean, you can use a whole bunch of stuff, GoToMeeting and stuff like that, but Join.me was free, and quality was pretty good. We also use another tool, which I honestly cannot remember now. There's another tool that we use to share our iPad screen onto the desktop. You guys know what I'm talking about? Because our app is on the iPad, right? So if you want to showcase something on the iPad, you can't, it's kind of difficult to do the screen stuff. So we use a tool, I think it's called Reflector. But basically what it does, it mirrors your iPad onto your desktop, right? And then when you're sharing your desktop, they will see the iPad. So we can do demos that way. So I think we use those two tools for those kind of meetings. And the question here, please? Yeah, I can't show you my dashboard. How am I going to do this? Yeah, so we have there are a bunch of tools out there. They call them enterprise dashboard tools. The one we use is called Ducksboard, D-U-C-K-S board. So good, but you can't get it anymore unless you were signed up before. The ones that I can recommend hesitantly is GeckoBoard. You can try GeckoBoard, G-E-C-K-O-B-O-A-R-D. So these are some of the, so for you guys who have no idea what I'm talking about, these are what we call enterprise dashboards that showcase key metrics that you are tracking in your company in real time. So for example, a key metric that we track is MRR, monthly recurring revenue. A key metric that we also track is number of meetings that we do, sales, the number of customers. And so we track all these metrics in a dashboard, right, that everyone gets access to. This is really important, especially as you're scaling your business, because you want people to have ownership of what's happening and be able to see themselves directly connected to the numbers. And it's just really fun. It's just really cool. I mean, I sometimes when I walk around the office, I always see people constantly staring at the dashboard. Yes?
Can you use your API hacking prowess, your Jedi powers on Slack, and just update a Slack channel with all these key metrics?
You can, except that people are very visual, So we use a lot. We use Zapier, for example, and a whole bunch of API calls to Ducksboard to make that data go live. I think you can do it in Slack, but it's a bit annoying to see the numbers tick in Slack, and it's not as nice to look at. It's not, yeah. So it can be done, but I'm not sure it will be as effective. Yeah, but it's just just in case if you want to do it, you can try GeckoBoard. It's a shame that Ducksboard went down just because it's so good. We still use it. It's just not open for new users anymore. Yeah. Any other? Okay, it's good. So those two questions are done. Any other questions? Yeah, good. I see your hand there, so we'll get to you in a sec. Yeah.
So this is a little bit off the hacking.
Yep.
But when you first started with StoreHub,
Yep.
Did you already have the intention of going worldwide, or just Malaysia and then evolve, or how did it start?
Yeah, good question. I started, so my journey, maybe I'll share a bit of my personal story, to give you a bit of perspective. So I grew up in Malaysia, believe it or not, and I spent 12 years in PJ Boy, and I went to Singapore for 4 years. After that, I went to Melbourne for 10 years. So I did my studies, failed my subjects, paid all of Dota, I did all that there, and then started the e-commerce business. And then eventually I went to China. I went to Shanghai for 2 years to study Mandarin and pursue the goal of my dreams. Anyway, that happened. So when I was in Shanghai, we started StoreHub. And so my co-founder, she's our CTO, and our team is there, our technology team. And so when I was there, I was very clear that our market was Southeast Asia. Simply because playing in the China market, oh my God, it's terrible. And then for us to then go to the US and Australia, I mean, for me, it was two motives. One, I really wanted to come back to Malaysia. Ever since I was in Australia, and I'm an Australian PR and everything. I have my house, my car, everything. But I really wanted to come back to Malaysia. And I felt that as I was studying the region, I realized that Malaysia is a great starting point for figuring out business models that then you can then scale beyond. I mean, Singapore is horrible because the thing with Singapore is that it's such an anomaly in Southeast Asia that once you prove something in Singapore, your lessons cannot be applied anywhere else. right? So Malaysia was much more, in a sense. So I came into Malaysia with a view to go to Southeast Asia. We're talking to a bunch of Japanese investors, and one thing I loved about the Japanese investors is that they love Malaysians. They love Malaysian entrepreneurs. And I said, hey, why do you love Malaysian entrepreneurs? And their reasons are very solid. They're like, well, if you look at the last 5 or 10 IPOs of big companies in Southeast Asia, they're all Malaysians, right? 8 out of 10 or so. If you looked at Malaysia as a market, it's not small, but it's not too big. So Malaysian entrepreneurs from day one tend to think regional, whereas when they talk to entrepreneurs from Thailand or Philippines or Indonesia especially, they always, oh no, my market very big already, 200 million. Oh, they don't talk like that. My market very big. So they've got this mindset that the market is big enough, they don't have to go regional. Malaysians very different. Malaysia, wow, we only got 30 million, you better get out of here fast, And so I think they like us for that. And I think to a large degree we should keep it. And for us, very clear, regional from day one, not global. Not global because we knew that to play the global game, it's really tough, honestly, because we're not raising the kind of money that most of these global players are able to raise. Simply because we're proving our model initially in a market that's way too small. When I was in Shanghai, there was like 20 million people in Shanghai alone. There were 20 million people in just a neighboring country, neighboring city. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? I was talking to Starbucks talkers before, and they were like, we got 200 customers, 200 stores. Oh, that's big, very big. They wanted to do a bunch of stuff. And then I talked to my CTO, and I said, hey, they got 200 stores, And then she's like, hey, in Jiangsu province alone, there's 3,000 Starbucks. So I'm like, sorry. And so I mean, for me, but that market is tough. But I think in Southeast Asia, we have the opportunity to win. We're multilingual, we are very diverse. We are probably the only truly diverse country in Southeast Asia. We are adaptable, belok, anything also can. That's very part of our DNA, and that's important. That's important. Things can be used for good or for bad. Okay, so that's important if you're going to expand and grow. So it can be really good. Yeah, for those reasons, I think we started in Malaysia with a view of Southeast Asia. But I think the key with this is this. You cannot copy models outright if you're doing that. Because a lot of the time, the models that you copy are very hyper niche, targeting a big market. And those models don't work in Southeast Asia, if you think about it. Because the markets are too small. You're going to a hyper niche, and it's not good. I mean, if you think about how VCs operate, right? You come in investment class already. Sorry, if you guys are not raising money. But if you think about how VCs operate, they're giving you money not so that they can get a dividend of 10% every year, right? They're giving you money not even to get a 2x return, They're not. If I give you $1 million, I'm not looking for $2 million back. I'm looking for 10, 20, $100 million back. So for me to get that kind of return from a business, from a startup, that startup needs to be able to grow to a certain size. Now, if you're a hyper niche within a small market, you're never going to be able to grow to that kind of size. So that's what I think. If you target regional, you start with a niche, but it cannot be too small. You have to tackle a big enough problem. Yeah. So that's a long answer to a short question. I hope that helps. There's a question over there. Yes. Please ask questions, yeah, because I feel very bad if you don't ask questions.
Hi. We'd just like to ask, how much do you spend on online marketing per month? And if you don't mind sharing, what kind of cost per acquisition are you looking at right now?
You asked me the two questions I cannot answer. We spend a fair bit of money. Cost per acquisition is very, very, very good, and our investors love it. That's all I can say. So sorry.
Is there a rule of thumb that you follow in terms of the online marketing?
That's a question. I would love to draw this up, but I don't think any of you guys can see it. I'll verbalize what I say. So, are you guys familiar with the term LTV, lifetime value of customer? Right? So, the lifetime value of customer is simply this idea of, forget it, I can't even bother to do that. This idea of, if your customer pays you, in our case, 100 ringgit a month, yeah? How long is the average lifespan of the customer? In our case, no one really changes point of sale, so we estimate 3 years, right? So the ones, some of them close down, whatever, 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then the ones that go long haul, 5, 6, 7 years. So maybe we take average, a reasonable conservative average is 3 years. So what does that mean? That means our LTV, our lifetime value of a customer, is about 4,000 ringgit, right? So we figure out our lifetime value. And then once we got the lifetime value figured out, then we can now go back to the cost per acquisition, right? So what is a healthy cost per acquisition? Something smaller than LTV. That's it, right? So as long as your CAC is smaller than LTV, you're good. But ideally, your CAC to LTV ratio is as small as possible, right? If it's in this case maybe 4,000 ringgit. If I'm spending 1,000 ringgit a month acquiring a customer, is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? Yes or no? Some of you guys say no. It's a good thing, right? But what you also have to be wary of is cash flow, right? So if I spend 1,000 ringgit today, am I going to get 1,000 ringgit back straight away? No. Because I'll get it over the next 10 months, right? So you've got to be wary about that. So the Bestreamer white paper goes through a lot of detail about this. The one I showed you earlier. You have to be very wary. What is your customer payback period? Right? When do you actually get back the cost of acquiring the customer? Because then once you get back the cost of acquiring the customer, then that money can go back into acquiring more customers, right? But if you can figure out your CAC LTV ratio and you know it's actually really good, then jack up your marketing spend, go bonkers, raise money to increase, to keep going. If your CAC is 4,000 ringgit and your LTV is 2,000 ringgit, figure out a more efficient way to actually acquire customers. Does that make sense? Hopefully that helps you answer the question a bit better. Thanks, right? Anyone else? Oh dear, this is where we end the session early because no one has questions. Yes? I'm fighting a cough. You guys are getting my sexy voice.
Sorry, I think we're moving a little bit away from the original topic, so I have a question a little bit
On the topic?
not on
Oh,
the
wait.
topic, if it's
Yeah,
alright.
sure.
Yeah. As a startup, how do you hire and how do you keep staff?
Wow.
So this is actually a challenge for me specifically. Yeah.
Could you elaborate on a specific aspect? Well, that's a big topic, right? But a specific challenge you're happy to share?
So I think as a startup, you're new to the market. So how do you attract people to come to you, and how do you keep them?
Okay. When I reflect on our startup, both in Australia and here, we found that the channels by which we bring in people are very diverse. So, for example, in my previous company, we had 25 people at our peak. Now we have 15 in this new company. And if you look at every single person that came in, my previous company was interesting. My previous company, I hired my best friend, I hired my sister, I hired my ex-boss's son. They were all disasters and triumphs in different ways. My mom was on the board. I mean, it was a horrible disaster, right? But I think the key here is that we advertised, and just other people, right? One came from Geek. One was a customer that that saw our newsletter that said we're hiring. One was a friend of a friend. One was we ran a crazy campaign which says that if you refer someone and we end up hiring them, we'll buy you dinner at Budamon, which is like the nicest restaurant in town, like $300 dinner. I mean, we did stuff like that. So I think for if you're actually serious about recruiting, the channel management is important. Honestly, I think we need to do better. I don't think I'm an expert at recruiting. I think we're probably better at screening than we are actually getting the leads in. But I would say go as wide as possible. With our current business, we got candidates from Startup Jobs Asia, we got candidates from Wob, we got candidates from JobStreet, we got not candidates, people we actually hired, right? So from these different channels, we have friends of friends, we have friends of friends of friends. I mean, it's just that kind of, there is no easy answer to recruiting. And that's why there's a job called recruiter, because they know it's hard. So I think it's really just a matter of pouring your time and resources, how are we going to do all this stuff, and then perhaps using some of these tools to hack your way through so that you're actually doing them efficiently. Right? So you're going to multiple channels, but you're managing them in a way that's not killing you. I mean, that's from the recruiting side. For keeping people, is my thing not working anymore? Oh dear. Right. Anyways, but if you saw like the teddy bears and stuff like that, honestly, I'm not very cutesy. You know, hopefully you guys don't think of me that way. I didn't do the teddy bears. I didn't do all that stuff about the culture stuff. We have someone who is really just into that kind of thing and just really making the workplace really good. I think one thing I can tell you very concretely we do is that there's a tool called Strength Finder. Have you guys heard of it before? Strength Finder? Yeah, some of you nodding, some of you no. The Strength Finder is it's not a psychometric test. It's a strength test, and basically when you're doing the test, there are a total of 34 strengths. And you have once you do the test, you get like 5 different strengths that the test identifies that you have. And what we do is that we use this as a tool to actually engage people in developing themselves. Because we tell them, hey, these strengths are not strengths you necessarily have, but they're like potential. So if you imagine like you have 5 different knives in your pocket in your belt, not all of them are going to be sharp, right? Not all of them are going to be useful. And so those are your 5 strengths. But some of them will be better than others. And what we're going to do is we're going to develop your strengths and in the area that you're working in and continue to develop you. I think it's very important. One thing that I found that the guys love is this attitude that we have towards developing people. If there's one thing I'm incredibly passionate about, is really just seeing how you can turn a B team into a superstar team. I remember in one of my other talks, I have advice for businesses, right? And one of the things is don't hire A players, hire B players, and believe in them. And I think for me that's probably the most lacking in our culture today is that we don't believe in people enough, And I've seen situations turn around in such a big way just from doing this. I'll give you an example. So we had a girl in our office, a couple of weeks ago. I had a serious conversation with her. The leadership wanted to get her out of the company, and I said, hey, look, I think you bring a lot. You can bring a lot to this company, but your attitude in these areas, these specific examples, your performance in these areas, specific examples, those things need to change. Can we change? And we worked through all this stuff. And I think, for me, it was actually very clear already that the leadership wanted to get rid of her. But I just couldn't. I just felt, no, she had something in her. And I told her that I was very honest with her. I said, look, we want to believe and want to help you get there. And then within a month, she became like a superstar. Her numbers were through the roof. Her attitude, her energy that she was bringing to the team was different. And so for me, there's just been too many cases of these things happening that I know Cheryl has a different take on it. Cheryl has a hire fast, fire faster mentality. I can't. I'm too old school in there. I'm still from the hire fast, hire slowly, fire quickly kind of mindset. Then with the whole belief in people is probably the biggest thing you can do for your employees, for your colleagues. Just believe in people. I mean, one of my best friends told me that if only we saw each other with a 10 on top of their heads, seeing the best in each of us, the world will be an amazing place. And I think for you want to build a great workplace, you want to build a great company, you want to model this kind of behavior. You want to model this kind of culture where people learn to see the best and believe in each other. I think that's important. Yeah. Any other tools or hacks, questions? And same guy, man. You guys have no questions, no value at all. All right, good. I'll show you that guy. Okay?
Yeah. So when you first started, I'm sure you went through beta and testing first, right? So how long did it? How much data did you collect before you actually were confident enough to, launch it?
Yeah. Oh, 6 months. Yeah, but I mean, our product is different. I mean, our product is almost like there's no such thing as MVP, because the minimum requirement for a point of sale is really high. There's a lot of stuff you have to build, So we took a fair bit of time just because we're such a small team. So I think it will vary from business to business, I would say. But in our case, it took a while, 6 months.
What was it that suddenly made you, okay, we can do it? What was the thing?
Well, they were using it for 6 months, and they stopped giving us feature requests. Right? So you get feature requests. Oh, yeah, we're good now. Let's go to the market, right? And that's where we thought. There's a question somewhere back there. Here we go.
Hi. This is actually a general question. out of the so many industries there are, what made you choose post as the industry and the startup that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I started my first business, an e-commerce business, yeah? And so I was very familiar. I have this principle. I call it the what's in your hands principle. And I know if you guys, heard what I said before, I'm a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I never started out with this big dream to change the world like most of you guys probably do, or most people would have. I was just like, hey, my uncle, I was a fresh graduate from university. My uncle said, hey, help me out, sell some. I wanted to take a gap year, but he's like, no, Asians don't take gap years. So just help me out, put some stuff on eBay. So I was a very accidental entrepreneur. And I think to a large degree with StoreHub is very similar. I had a lot of passion for e-commerce. I love e-commerce and commerce in general. And I was in China. I was at a friend's store. He had a chain of lingerie retail stores. So you can say, we started out our route in lingerie retail. It's very inspiring there. No. But and he just had a really bad point of sale system. He just bought for a shitload of money, right? And I'm like, I was so frustrated because I said it's really bad. I mean, you can improve this and this and this. He's like, why don't you talk to my developer? So I spoke to his developer, and he's like, hey, you can improve this and this and this. And then he's like, the developer just looked at me straight in the face and goes, why don't you just train the staff to use it? I was like flabbergasted. I was like, what the heck is this, right? It doesn't make sense. The systems were built for people, not the other way around. And so I was very angry. I went to research all the iPad point-of-sale companies in the US, and I thought, this is an interesting market. And I had a vision for commerce, right? I had a vision that one day it would not just be e-commerce and bricks and mortar, it would be just commerce. And how do we bridge that gap? How do we engage all that stuff? Starting with point-of-sale, a very basic building block, right? And then how do we go from point-of-sale, engage inventory, CRM, engage commerce, engage marketplace? I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do there around point-of-sale, but point-of-sale is the most basic building block for retailers. And I wanted to serve retailers. I'm a big fan of small business. I'm not a very big fan of corporates in general. So if you're a corporate here, don't hold it against me. I'm just not a big fan of you. But small businesses are important, and I love them because I see the light in their eyes. I see the passion in their eyes. I see the creativity that comes out from all that goodness that they do, brewing their little coffee, creating designing their own fashion line. I love small business. And there's something beautiful about that. And Jack Ma himself has a vision for empowering small businesses in the world. He believes that, I think Warren Buffett said this, it will no longer be the battle between the big and the small, but the fast and the slow. And in many ways, I want to help these guys who are already quite fast actually engage a world like that. And that's what I see myself, what I see StoreHub doing. And that's how we started. Simple, accidental, lingerie-inspired, vision thing based on my commerce understanding. But start small, and don't despise your humble beginnings. Any other questions? Yes? I'll just repeat your question here. So, how to hire people without paying them salary? I think MaGIC is very good at that. A lot of interns. Interns are great. Honestly, I don't think I'm the best person to talk about this. Because I know some people have told me interns are really good, but you should pay them well. In fact, I paid one intern. We had one intern. She's amazing though, but we paid her $2,000. I know, right? People say I spoil market. Sorry. But she was really, really good, even though it was 3 months, and she still helps us do stuff and every now and then. How to hire people without paying salary? Look, the only people that didn't take salary when we started were the founders. And in those cases, it's about selling vision. It's about selling what, speaking what you actually see and conveying that. I think one of the biggest, skills that a founder, a CEO must have is the ability to share vision and the excitement behind that. And when people catch hold of that, they'll work with you. But I think the question is more relevant, not so much even in just getting to work for free, but I think also in just getting people in general. These days we think we're interviewing them, actually they're interviewing us. In fact, the best people tend to interview us rather than us doing the interviewing, because they know they're good. Everyone tells them that. So they want to figure out if this company is going to add value to them. And for me, every single, and this is what I still do every single interview. And that's why I streamline my processes so tightly, because I do every interview. Because for me, it's very clear, the best people need you to convey vision. They need you to convey meaning. They need you to convey a sense of how are they going to be developed when they're in the company. And if you don't convey any of that, whether you pay them a lot of money or don't pay them a lot of money, they're not going to work here. We have had some amazing people who we pay them way below market rate just because they see themselves being able to grow in a big way. They see the vision that's exciting, and they see, this is a place, we talk about it in StoreHub all the time, this is a place where you learn to discover what is meaningful work. And that's something we sell. So I think as much as we talk about getting the work free, I think it's really hiring and recruiting is very much a pitch, specifically these days. Yeah. At least for the best people. Hope you guys agree with that. Yeah. Great. Oh, good. So yeah, actually there's a few tools we use for that. So if you don't already use something like Slack, that's super important. We use a tool called Squiggle, SQWIGGLE. And what's amazing about Squiggle is it reduces the friction of conferencing to a click. So what it does is that you, if just say 20 people are using Squiggle, you have the faces of 20 people. The screenshot, a camera shot will be taken every 20 or 30 seconds of that person, right? And if you want to talk to the person, you just click. And if they're away from the desk, you can see they're away from desk. So what we try to do is we try to reduce the friction of remote teams by using software like this. So because normally if you want to talk to someone in China, you have to, hello, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Are you ready for a Skype call? Okay, hold on. Let me turn on. I mean, that friction is there. And I think for remote teams to be successful, you need to reduce that as much as possible. That being said, I think apart from Squiggle, the other thing also is when we do conferencing, we use GoToMeeting because GoToMeeting has servers in China. So we tested a whole bunch of other tools. Google Hangout doesn't work. Skype sucks. GoToMeeting is the only thing we found that has been good enough of a quality to hold all hands meetings with our team in China and Malaysia and so forth. I mean, if there's a few tools that are key for us in that regard, is those things. Yeah. No, support is local in Malaysia. But if you talk about remote, meaning our customers are, say, in Miri, which is another country. No, just kidding. We do remote support that way. And if we can remote support Miri, I guess it doesn't matter whether they're in Indonesia or Philippines, right? So we do. And mostly, we encourage them to use Intercom. Intercom is very important for us. And join me for conferencing, phone calls, whatnot. But I think a lot of our support happens on chat. And I think that's what people are used to. They like it. It used to be support happening by email, right? But these days, they're very much chat. So that's what we use. No, we don't normally do that. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do, but to do that kind of stuff, you need things like TeamViewer and stuff. I mean, there are certain services these days that allow you to literally install a code base in your app and allow you to take over if you need to, but we haven't explored those things yet. What's the what? Pipe drive. You guys remember that column thing? Sorry? No, it doesn't send out emails. Emails, we still use Gmail. Sidekick. So the reason we don't send out emails to Pipe Drive is because we want to see when they open the emails, right? So Sidekick does that, and so what we do with Pipe Drive is that in Pipe Drive we just track when we take action. So we make a phone call, we make an action. We send an email, we take an action, and then we monitor this on a daily basis. The team leads will just jump into the meeting and they just put out how many we actually complete, how many phone calls, how many meetings, how many emails, all that stuff. In what sense? Yep, so we do a lot of that in Intercom. Yeah, so Intercom and MailChimp. I didn't mention these tools because I'm assuming MailChimp people, everyone knows MailChimp, right? But we use MailChimp for email subscription management. So every single sign up, whatever interest fund. And then for Intercom, it's people who have signed up to the app. We do marketing there as well. But yeah, Intercom is great. You can do activity-based marketing and just sending. I think the big thing with Intercom is just in-app messaging. Because no one reads emails. It's really sad. The read rate of in-app messaging is so high. Yeah, because it pops up. Yes.
Hi, I would like to ask, where do you find all these tools actually? Like sources, like do you randomly search on Google or something?
Yeah. Good question. There's a few sites. I really should know them by now, but if you actually browse through everything, really, I'm sorry. But there's a few sites that do this. I can't remember that off the top of my head, but made use of can be out that. I don't think I've ever encountered it, but there's a few. I mean, if you want, I'll open my history and make sure there's no dodgy stuff, and then I'll show you if it's there. Yes. Oh dear, okay. Forgot his question. Anyone else have a good question? Yes. Oh wow, same people asking questions. Anyone else have no questions? I'm just waiting for I'm between you and lunch, right? That's my problem. Alright, there's one question here. Is it okay if I take his question first? Cool. So the question is, do you recommend inbound sales or outbound sales? It's not about recommending. I think it's if you have the luxury of being able to just do inbound sales. So let me define that for you. Inbound sales is the idea that the lead comes to you. Yeah, that's how I see it. And then how do you manage that lead? So pipe drive, all the things that we talk about. And then calling out within 5 minutes, yeah? So inbound sales is always warmer, right? Because they come to you. So you call them, they know who you are, they download your app, yada, yada, yada. So you want to do that very, very well. You want to make sure that the leads that come to you, you handle them like they are your babies, right? Because those are the highest quality leads. Outbound sales is the idea of sending out salespeople, knocking on doors, making cold calls, that kind of stuff, right? So the quality of those leads that you get from that kind of approach is not going to be as high, and the success rate will be a lot lower as well. So you want to have a process for that, but you want to make sure before you even get to that point, your inbound sales process is solid. Yeah, that's what I think anyway. So it's not a matter of do you prefer which. You've got to think in the right way about inbound sales, and you have to think about a different way for outbound sales. The gentleman is first. Yeah, there's two questions, right? Yeah, you first. Yeah, he needs a mic. Are you guys enjoying this or not? Yeah, the two guys at the front there.
Wei Hong,
yes.
Actually this is not a question. I was wondering if I can hijack you because I make a tool on the HR. So I can advertise a bit. So we make kakitangan.com.
What?
Kakitangan.com.
Okay.
So it's a free HR system. So that similar to Kin charge money. We don't, we don't have the onboarding yet, but we do have a leave application system that people use paper to apply and approve leave. They can use our system straight away. We support all the states in Malaysia on the calendar, as well as Singapore.
All right, thanks for your advertisement.
Thanks.
Hi. So how do you differentiate yourself from competitors, and how do you switch your competitors' clients to be yours?
Very simple. We recognize that one of the biggest things that Malaysian vendors don't do, especially POS, is they don't understand this idea of the idea of a simple word called service. And I say this because I come from a B2C business background, which means e-commerce in Australia. Man, if your service sucks, they jump off the street straight away. They buy something somewhere else easily, right? It's just a Google search away. So we applied those same service principles in our company. And it's not just service in the sense of I'm serving you in the, I help you with whatever. It's serving in the sense of how do we actually serve somebody, right? And so I think we train our guys with that kind of mindset. We have a saying called, one of our core values is make their day. And I always say, like, make their day even if it doesn't make you $1. If they call you, I don't know, classic example is Zappos. Have you guys heard of Zappos? I'm a big fan of Tony Hsieh and Zappos. They're $1 billion shoe company bought out by Amazon. They do stuff like, you call up Zappos, there's a story, there's some random guy say, oh, Zappos has such amazing customer service. I wonder if we call them up in the middle of the night and ask them to, like, where's the nearest pizza place in, like, Boston? Will they answer? So someone actually did that. They called up Zappos and asked them, it's a shoe company, huh? Say, hey, I'm not here to buy shoes. I just want to know what the nearest pizza place that's open at 2 a.m. in Boston, whatever it is, right? And the Zappos guy, yeah, no worries, hold on a minute. 2 minutes later, says, this place is open, go for it. And for me, that's the mindset we want to train our guys to have. And when we have that kind of mindset, it's so easy to differentiate from the other guys in the market, because traditionally app developers are not known for service. Because they don't understand this, right? They don't understand that at the end of the day, all of us want to have a connection. And all of us want to know that we are being heard. All of us want to know that, yeah, we matter. And when you apply that to your business, I would say that's a big differentiator in itself. Very simple, very silly sometimes even to say it for myself, but it's actually true. The other thing is attention to details. One of my old mentors used to tell me that retail is detail, and really, it is true. If you want to, we tell our guys this when they start with us, that the difference between a good and a great company is the details. It's a small thing. Because, to get from lousy to good is a big thing, yeah? But from good to great is those guys that care about the small things, the details. So when we talk about details in products, we would argue for hours over pixels, over padding, over, this guy thinking this way, the guy thinking that way, and we would obsess about the details. That's another of our values, right? We give you permission to obsess over details. And details matter. And if you talk about building great products, you've got to make sure you have a culture of details matter in your company. I would say these two things, our marketing is very strong, so that's how we differentiate as well. But I would say from actually making a difference, the details of how we build products and all that stuff, and just building company culture in general, and the service mindset of not just service, but serving people. I think those things are key for us. Do you remember your question?
Yeah, so my question came back. Yeah, my question will be on hacks. So, yeah, HackerX, yeah. I realize that we can track emails individually on people open it or read it or not. But in terms of, let's say you would like to blast out on 200 emails one shot, you can't really track, as far as you know, you can't really track who are the people that actually open your emails and who are the readers.
Of course you can. So with Intercom you can, with MailChimp you can, with any email messaging tool you can.
Yeah, not opening, like real-time opening kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you can.
For bulk, like 200 people, like exactly
yes, you can.
33 one.
So I'm telling you, yes, you can. We send out emails to hundreds of people. The moment they open, there, it's everything. They click the link so you know. So if you use Intercom or use MailChimp, and you can start with MailChimp, blast out to a list. You can see whether they open or don't open, who don't open, whether they click or don't click. You might create a sub-list from that and then market them to them differently. These are some of the things you can do. So yeah, you definitely can track. MailChimp, you can try that.
Okay, so we'll take one last question.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay. Well, I had two, but I'll just ask one.
Okay.
Trends that you see in the SaaS industry in Southeast Asia right now with the companies you're talking to, what do you see as kind of the hot new things and where perhaps some of us should sharpen our focus?
Trends. Economy's not doing very well. And so people are going to be more and more cheap. And I think that's where opportunities for B2B SaaS really flourish. When not just for using cheap tools, but also for user acquisition, for management. When things are tough, people are more receptive to they're more open and receptive to change that helps them manage the tough times. So I think there's definitely a good opportunity there. That being said, unless B2B SaaS players in Malaysia start to get a grip of the kind of tools they need to scale the businesses, I think they'll struggle to scale. And that's what I'm seeing as an observation. I think if I look at my competitors and look at myself, I think one of the reasons why we've been able to do better in many ways is the tools. I guess there might be competitors here, whatever. If everyone of us does better, it's great, right? But things like ChargeB and Braintree, I shared about billing subscription management, and it sounds so stupid, right? But if you're actually the one there, trying to collect the billing, collect the money, and actually managing when you're going to collect all that stuff, when is it expiring, upgrading, that stuff would stop you from growing. A lot of the stuff that we talked about here, it's really, if you don't have something like that implemented, it will stop you from growing. So I think the opportunity is ripe. It's ripe, but we need to build better products. I think one thing that we struggle with in Malaysia a lot is that we don't have very good attention to details. We laugh. And we see that reflected in our design, right? How do we design things? When we design things, are we thinking about the details? Are we thinking about the small things? Are we thinking about each person that's going to engage with it? It feels like most of the roads in Malaysia are built by people who don't drive on roads. That kind of mindset, right? And we know that feeling. The signboards, wow, they place it like this, people left, people right. It doesn't make sense. Where is the attention to details? And to build great products, build great B2B SaaS products, details matter so much because your competitor is just a Google search away. And people would, I'm a strong believer in this, that people process information subconsciously a lot quicker than consciously. And so they process all this thought that you've given in the small details, even though they don't notice it consciously. It's common. I do this because I do this all the time. I'm always browsing tools, and I feel something good about this tool. I'm not able to verbalize into a thought yet what this actual good is, but I feel it. And that feeling it's not from nowhere. It's not like I'm emo or anything. It's just that I'm actually processing information a lot quicker than I'm able to think about it consciously. So I think on that front, the details really, really, really important. We just got to learn to be better at details, I think. Yeah.
All right. Wai Hong.
Thank you.